As I'm sure you guys are aware of, the entire sports world has slammed this year's All-Star game, as a product on the court was complete trash and utter garbage. And I give everyone credit for finally calling out this game and the NBA's horrible product. But here's the thing, where have you guys been the past 5 years? The NBA's decline didn't happen all of a sudden in 2024 at that exact moment. This decline has been a gradual dip for the past 5 to 7 years. And that begs the question, if this problem's been going on for nearly a decade, who's to blame for it? I think there's two major culprits for the NBA's decline. The first guy being Adam Silver, the most spineless commissioner in all of sports. And Adam Silver, I've never liked this dude since day one. He's some sort of weird alien human hybrid with the voice of a robot. And when it comes to being the commissioner and active commissioner, for the past decade, he's been asleep at the wheel, letting the players run his league. And where they've ran it is right into the ground. Being the commissioner of the NBA is like being the captain of a ship. And with Adam Silver at the helm, the product has declined, viewership has dropped off, and the players are more empowered than ever not to care about the fans. Now, the second biggest culprit is, of course, LeBron James, who for the past decade has been the face of basketball. And coincidentally, LeBron's reign as the face of the NBA has coincided with its major decline. And the biggest mistake LeBron James ever made, not only for his career, but the NBA's trajectory, was going to Miami in 2011. As that move, it was like the breaking point, the flashpoint for this era we're currently in. And look, yes, LeBron James had the right to go to South Beach. But looking back on it, the ripple effects, the aftershock of that move threw the entire NBA off course. As in the post-2011 era, the LeBron James era, guys who aren't even top-tier superstars like a LeBron James started demanding trades, sitting out games, having a cocky attitude, and thinking they themselves were bigger than the sport. Nowadays, the average NBA player, even the role players, they think of themselves as a business. And basketball, yeah, it's fun, kind of a side hustle. But playing in the NBA funds them and their individual industry. From a fan perspective, when superstars, mid-tier players are getting passed around left and right, it makes it really hard to have any connection with your superstar player or even the role players on your team. And like I said earlier, there's a fine balance between player empowerment being good and being bad. The problem is nowadays, it's tipped way over in favor of the player way too much. I mean, the 1990s for a lot of fans is viewed as the golden age of basketball. And one reason I believe that is, of course, Michael Jordan, but looking past him, the other superstars, the B-tier players, even C-tier players, they had their team, their franchise, that they built from the ground up. And yes, you get the occasional Charles Barkley, who became disgruntled, demanded a trade. That would happen, but it was very, very unlikely. Looking at the 2010s, the marquee players, the marquee stars, a lot of these guys have been passed around like an NBA groupie, as the majority of them have been on multiple teams, 2, 3, if not 4. I mean, looking at LeBron, 3 different teams, possibly 4. James Harden, 5. Durant, 4. Westbrook, 5. Kawhi, 3. Kyrie, 4. And CP3, 6. The precedent of player empowerment being a good thing, in the beginning, was fine. But nowadays, it's the wild, wild west. Superstars, all-stars, changing teams, changing conferences, 24/7. Out of this entire era, the only real superstar player who stayed put was Steph Curry. And trying to be optimistic, looking at the next era of players. Of course, right now you have Tatum, Luka, Jokic, Giannis, and Edwards, Booker, etc. To this point, all those guys have put on one team, the team that drafted them. Hopefully going forward that trend continues, and these stars in a way correct the mistakes of the guys in the 2010s. And one topic that's been discussed recently is who in the future will be the face of the NBA. I mean, there's been numerous names thrown around: Tatum, Jokic, Luka, Some even say there'll be no face and be a combination of those stars. Look, I don't know, but one thing I do know, when it comes to LeBron James being the face of the current NBA, that needs to stop, as having a near 40-year-old anchor all your media coverage, all the attention, it's not good or healthy for your league at large. I mean, Twitter, Instagram, if LeBron ties his shoes with a glass of water, that is news and it's posted non-stop. And if you're lucky, you'll get an article on ESPN breaking it down and why it's so important. And like I said earlier, LeBron James, Adam Silver, that dynamic duo, they're responsible for the decline of the NBA. As looking at LeBron's last finals appearance, that being in 2020, on average, there were 7.5 million people who watched that series. Here's the crazy thing. In the last 3 finals consecutively, 2021, 2, and 3, the ratings have increased despite LeBron James and despite him being a Laker. And looking at that series game by game, Game 1, lowest rated Game 1 in NBA history. Game 2, exact same thing. 3, 4, 5, and 6, the exact same thing. And I know I'll get some excuses. Well, it was an odd season, there was the bubble, fans weren't really invested. Look, spare me. Michael Jordan's Last Dance, which also aired in 2020, had an average of 12 million viewers per week. For a guy who retired 20 years ago and made his debut in 1984, to do those numbers is pretty insane. And looking at Jordan's last finals in 98, it is the complete inverse of LeBron James, as on average, that is the most watched finals of all time. And Game 6 in Utah, till this day, is the most watched NBA game of all time. LeBron James, of course, is a great player, but his overall arc, his story, has come to an end. There is no way SGA, Ant Edwards, a Tyrese Halliburton shouldn't be a household name in 2024. But unfortunately for the NBA at large, they only care about the Lakers, the Warriors, the Celtics, and the Knicks if they're good. And looking back at All-Star Weekend, the NBA, the spin they put on this weekend, was just miraculous. I mean, headlines like this: ratings soar despite fan outrage. Now looking at that headline, what would you think? I mean, the All-Star Game must have been good, ratings are up, the fans, they were definitely wrong, it wasn't a bad product. Now, of course, if you watched the game, which I did, it was trash. But even worse than the actual game is the spin and the line done by the media to prop the NBA up. As when you dive into these ratings, there were 5.5 million people watching this game on average, the second worst since tracking began in 2003. Now, take a wild guess of which the worst year was. Yes, 2023. So this headline isn't really necessarily lying, but it is deceiving. Yes, 2024 got more viewers, and it increased from the worst All-Star game ever. That bar is the lowest bar you could possibly have, and in no way was the All-Star game a success despite fan outrage. And once again, to do a comparison, in Michael Jordan's last All-Star game, that being 2003, it had an average of 10.8 million people watching that game. That is the most ever all time. Kobe in 2011, the second highest of all time, 9.1 million viewers. Isn't it kind of ironic Jordan and Kobe got those ratings and the fans interested in an All-Star game, but LeBron James is responsible for the 2 least watched All-Star games in NBA history? And one more thing I do want to expose, the NBA and Adam Silver, again, very, very, very slick with these ratings, as nowadays their new buzzword is unique viewers. And you might ask, what is a unique viewer? Well, here's what it is. It is the combination of cable, TNT, TBS, True TV, Bleacher Report Sports, and HBO Max all put into one. And to qualify as a unique viewer, you don't have to watch the whole game, a quarter, even a minute. If you click on the game, you right there are a unique viewer, even if it's only 1 second long. When it comes to Adam Silver and LeBron James, I blame those two guys exclusively. as being the face of the NBA and the voice of the NBA. What they do, what they say, is law. But unfortunately for us, the actions they've taken, the actions they haven't taken, has landed the NBA in the gutter. So, as always, thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next time.